The New York Knicks just lost to the New Orleans Pelicans in a game that was ugly from the start. And though it had its moments, it was truly just a disappointing loss in general, where basically no one on the Knicks played well outside of Mitchell Robinson. And we're going to break it all down. But first things first, guys, make sure to subscribe to the channel. It's super important to us. 80% of the viewers are not subscribed to the channel. It would mean the world if we could get those numbers up. Get it to hopefully 50-50 and then maybe 100-0 when the whole world subscribes to Knicks Digest. But on a serious note, guys, the Knicks did lose. It was an ugly loss. The first quarter was brutal. That's what killed them. The Knicks were down by 14 or around 14 most of the game, and they lost the first quarter by 14 points. At the end of the first, it was 26-12. The Pelicans were up. The Knicks were 0 for 8 from 3. They were 6 for 20 from the field. They had 8 turnovers. So, yes, they did have more turnovers than made shots, which, is never going to do any success at all. And they had a 12-point quarter. It was brutal. The only guys who played well were R.J. Barrett and Mitchell Robinson. Barrett actually started to slow down throughout the game, though, because he just was not getting foul calls that he thought he deserved or should have been getting. And that sort of got him out of his rhythm, and he just never really found his way back into it. But Mitchell Robinson did have a tremendous game. He's a Louisiana native. He's from Chalmette, Louisiana, initially by way of Florida. And he absolutely showed out tonight. He's been having a tremendous season for the New York Knicks. He has been the brightest spot so far this year. Obviously, Brunson was tremendous against the Atlanta Hawks. But throughout and consistently, Mitchell Robinson has been the Knicks' rock in these first 3 games in the first week of the season. And it's not been the greatest first week of the season. The Knicks lost a close game with Boston where they just could not shoot the ball well. They beat Atlanta, and now they lose another, not even close, but they do lose another game because they could not shoot the ball well. They need to shoot better, especially Brunson, because the team just runs on him, and also Julius Randle, because look at these numbers. 13 for 47, 27%, that is, through 3 games. It's the worst field goal percentage through the season's first 3 games in Knicks history since the NBA merger, minimum 40 attempts. Now, I know half this fan base loves Julius Randle and half of them hates Julius Randle. Here's the deal. I am the former on that, and I do think that Randle's going to be fine, that this is a slow start. Let's remember, he just got a procedure done on his ankle where he was in a walking boot for over a month. He had to get warmed up. It might not happen instantly. He should be back to normal. But if you don't like Julius Randle, you're definitely keeping track of the fact that Julius has been pretty inconsistent. And by pretty inconsistent, I mean 1 year he plays inefficiently and not too well. The next year he's an all-star and all-NBA player. And then he falls back into that pattern. And he is due for one of his worst years if that pattern were to continue. I just don't think it is, though. The year that he played badly after that all-NBA campaign, the whole Knicks were a mess. Alec Burks was their point guard, and he was a spot-up shooter. He was not even a point guard. He was a wing his entire career, and Tibbs was playing him 40 minutes and at a point guard, which he was not good at. And then once Brunson came along, when Randle had a point guard, he played better, and he had the best season of his career. I do think Randle will be okay. I think he's adjusting from this injury, and hopefully we see more of the Julius Randle that we saw against the Hawks, where he's doing the dirty work and he's also being a point forward. I do think that's the best role for Randle on this Knicks team, especially because he's going to have such a heavy load on him that if the Knicks are going to need his scoring, they should probably not try to fatigue him too early in the season, especially coming off of a summer where he was not healthy. So, long story short, I do think Julius Randle will be okay, but there's no doubt that he's had a rough start to the season, and it is definitely concerning. And then also, just another thing that I saw that I want to share with you guys is, obviously the Knicks played poorly, but in the last 24 hours, they had a great win in Atlanta. They got in at 1 a.m. to New Orleans. Pelicans haven't played since Wednesday, and they're playing in back-to-back opposing home openers. Absolutely no excuses can be made. The Knicks should not have played this badly. They were atrocious. But that first quarter looked like a team that just got into New Orleans at 1 a.m., going against a fresh-legged, very motivated New Orleans Pelicans team. And essentially, that's how it looked in the first quarter. And the first half was brutal because they only finished the first half with 37 points, which is not much better. But still, remember, they had 12 points in the first quarter. So, if you're counting, that means the Knicks had 25 points in the second quarter, which is a perfectly fine NBA quarter. The real issue here is essentially that they never could get out of this hole, and it was super problematic, and the Knicks really stall offensively at some points. They need Jalen Brunson to be playing very well, or the offense stalls. The ball movement has to be better a few times each player. This happened with RJ, it happened with Brunson, it happened with Quickly, just to name 3 guys who I saw this from very specifically, where they're not really looking and they're just running in trying to score very quickly. The Knicks were taking a lot of bad shots tonight on top of also just shooting poorly. This was a lazy game from a team that has played 3 games in the last 4 days, 2 of them being road games that are back-to-back opposing home openers. All of that is what really culminated into that first quarter. So I don't think that the Knicks are in deep trouble. I think that it was rough scheduling, and sometimes stuff like that is going to happen. They picked it up for a while. They cut it within 6 points. I think all of us sort of thought the Knicks had all the momentum and they were going to win, but they did not. They lost that lead, ended up going all the way down to 19, and then they did cut it to a 9-point game at the very end. It was an 11-point game, but Deuce McBride got a nice steal, made the game look a little better because it was no longer a double digit. Maybe made someone some money based on some spreads or something. I'm not sure. But really, just an ugly game for the Knicks. Not something that you want to see this early in the season. You don't want to see Brunson play bad 2 out of 3 games. It's so rare. He was so consistent last year. But the Knicks did start slowly last season also. It was a different rotation. Obi was here, Cam Reddish was here, Josh Hart and DiVincenzo were not. But it was the same starting 5 to a degree. Obviously, Evan Fournier was also starting for a while. But for the most part, the Knicks should be better, but they've also been slow to start some seasons. They always usually pick it up in the second half of the season. But I'm still disappointed. I don't really care if they start slow. I don't want them to start slow. The only good thing is when speaking of slow starts, RJ Barrett is playing well. He's just having a good year. Obviously, he only shot 7 for 16 tonight and 1 for 6 from deep. And it's one of those occasions where things got lazy. So RJ, when he gets lazy, he just starts shooting threes because he doesn't feel like driving anymore or something. I don't really know. But that's what happens when the Knicks play lazily. RJ Barrett shoots too many threes. But he's been good to start the season, and usually he has slower starts. So that is a really good sign. I'm really excited to see what RJ does. And also something that I've noticed is, this was more in the Hawks game, I'll be honest, just because the whole fact that this game was a miserable nightmare from minute 1 to minute 48. RJ Barrett and Jalen Brunson work a lot better together than Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson do. And I'm not saying that Barrett is a better player than Julius Randle. I'm saying that him and Brunson as a duo works better because Randle and Brunson are both very ISO heavy. RJ does not command the ball as much as Julius Randle does on offense. And it actually meshes for a better duo. The only thing is RJ Barrett's not putting up 25 and 10 and making all-star games and all-NBA teams. So I'm not really saying anything like trade Randle or anything. I'm more saying find a way to stagnate the minutes to where instead of RJ being that guy who's coming and playing with his bench unit, you have Julius Randle do it. It would work better, I think, honestly. And it also depends on matchups because Randle's the only true power forward in the team. But really, I think the Knicks should look into that. I do like the idea of Brunson and RJ working together. I always thought they'd be a better duo than Brunson and Randle. Just because, again, as great of a player as Randle is, he is an ISO-heavy player. And usually an ISO-heavy player like Julius Randle is not going to mesh well with another ISO-heavy player such as Jalen Brunson, especially when both of them like to do their work on the inside while being lefties. And I know you're probably thinking when I say that, Chris, you are aware that RJ Barrett likes to do his work inside and is a lefty, right? Yes, I am well aware, but RJ moves faster, and as I say, just does not command the ball as much, which is super important because I think the ball should be in Brunson or Quickly's hands for the majority of the time. The Knicks need to also just move the ball better. They do not move the ball well enough. The one time that they had really good ball movement, it ended in a Dante DiVincenzo 3. It was the best possession the Knicks had all night. But then they had too many possessions where they were literally throwing the ball away or losing it off their knees. RJ and Randle both did that, which they are accustomed to doing pretty often. And tonight was absolutely no different. It was an ugly one. And that sucks. Take a real quick look at this box score. If you did not watch the game, you could see from the stats that this looks worse than a 9-point loss. Because no one scored over 20 points. And obviously it was because it was a low-scoring game both ways. But just really gross game by the Knicks. And hopefully they can bounce back. They don't play for a few days, so that is super helpful for the Knicks. And yeah, that's really all that we have for today for the post-game. I know that we said we'd be doing these as duos or trios. For the most part, we will. But bear in mind, it is a Saturday night. People have busy lives sometimes. Dariel and Troy were unable to make it. They send their regards to y'all. And they also say, subscribe to the channel, guys. Come join the party. We got a video coming out tomorrow. This one will be out the night of October 28th, most likely. And we are just going to keep rolling from there. Knicks Digest to the moon. We're trying to do 2 videos a day for the most part, unless it's a one really big video, or if there is a Knicks game, things can be a little different. But on off days, we're going to try to give you two videos a day, get you that Knicks content that you so badly want. I'm a Knicks fan too. I get it. I live right next to MSG. I understand. I need my Knicks content. And if you're anything like me, make sure that you are subscribed to all your favorite Knicks YouTube channels, such as Knicks Digest, guys. As I said, come join the party. But that's really all that I have for today for you guys. Leave a comment down below what you saw in the Knicks game. What did you like? If it was nothing, then it was nothing, because I didn't really like much of this game. What did you not like? What do you think the Knicks should do? Do you think that Randle should start playing with the bench unit more than RJ? Let me know in the comments, guys. I love reading them, even if you're just hating on me, which a lot of the time it is. No, but seriously, have a great night, guys, and remember, go Knicks.